Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the September 29th edition of the Courtside with Coach Crist show. I am Greg Crist. That is my good buddy Dave Gorby and my sidekick here on the show tonight, as we often do. We're coming to you live from Pinheads of the Gorge here on Jones Avenue in Oak Hill. And tonight we opted to get outside. It's a little chilly, but it's a nice evening, and it's awful quiet out here, Gorb.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, the ladies' night in there going strong.
Oh,
but, yeah, it's a good evening. I mean, it's cool, but it's not freezing out here.
Football weather.
Yeah, it's football weather.
And it's fall. It's supposed to be like this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we appreciate you joining the show tonight. And before we get started with the show, I want to send out a few thank yous like I always try to do and oftentimes forget. And I'm sure a lot of these people think, man, he's not very humble. He's not very appreciative of some of the things we do for him. But I want to send out some thank yous to Mike Dunlap, Frank Fear, who helps me with our guests, as Mike Dunlap has, Mark Parsons, who's kind enough to spread all the
I'm telling you,
spread all the juice on his pages, man. And
so many shares.
I was talking to him last night. I'm like, dude. I mean, because he has information on top of information. I mean, I mentioned a name, boom, here comes a whole pile of stuff.
Right.
I said, I got to get you on the show. He said, I don't know if anybody even knew who I was. I said, dude, with your Facebook following, I said, you'd have more watchers than we've ever had in the history of the show, even if they don't know who you are. I said, they'll know who you are after we get done talking, because I said, you're like a textbook, man. So hopefully we'll get Mark on one day. It'll be a lot of fun. I look forward to that. Also, Dale Wolfley, who also has helped us out with our show a few times, and he's supposed to be mentioning us on his show. I haven't heard it yet, but I'll be sending him some text and say, hey, man, come on, man. How about a little love?
We're plugging you, man.
That's right. We plug you every time. And he's got so many daggone shows going on now, I can't keep him straight. Wolfman's Call and his three brothers on one, and I can't keep up with him. But he's got some good stuff going. I've watched some of these shows, and they're pretty good. Gets a lot of good guests on and that sort of thing. So we appreciate all those guys for helping us out. That's always awful nice of them, the things that they do, helping me get guests and keeping the show going. And, we've been focusing on that late 60s, early 70s time period with the Mountaineers. The guy we have on tonight did spend a little time at WVU in 68 and 69, but he has a storied coaching career at some very prestigious universities around the country, and he'll be a lot of fun to talk to. I'm looking forward to that. His name is Richard Bell, and for those of you who don't know, you ought to go ahead and look him up, because I'm going to tell you what, interesting background, man. He's got some stops on his resume, and pretty impressive. So it'll be a lot of fun talking to him. And the thing I noticed, Gorbis always gets me. He was there in 68, 69. He was a defensive coordinator for Carlin. And when Carlin left, he went with him to Texas Tech. And he coached at W 1 year. He coached, 12, 13 years at Air Force. He coached at Duke. He coached at Georgia. He was a head coach at South Carolina for a year. Coached at all these places. And after the message, he left me yesterday. The last thing he said was, "Go Mountaineers." I'm like, I hear you, man.
That's good right there.
Heck yeah. So we're looking forward to having him, Richard Bell. We'll have him here in just a little bit, of course, like we always like to do. And I need to get that phone off of that monitor right there. I can tell you it's already buzzing. But we always have to check in, first and foremost, with our One Eye in the Sky, our Chopper One forecast, the New River Network's own Muggy McLeod, flying around somewhere up there in the sky. So, Muggy, what's up?
Good evening, Coach. This is Muggy McLeod with your One Eye in the Sky NRN Chopper One Traffic and Weather Team Report, coming to you from the great state of aggravation. Actually, we're flying above Texas, looking for those Mountaineer fans that will be trickling in for the weekend's game against those mighty, traitorous Texas upside-down Longhorns.
Yeah.
Oh, careful, the Big 12 might fine us over that. Anyway, traffic in this big old state is kind of sparse, just like everything else. There's like nothing here. We'll keep flying around until we find whoever shot JR. Which, that would make you really old if you know what that meant.
I do.
Anywho, the eyes of Texas are upon us, so we'll continue to do our weather report, brought to you by Heinz 57 Steak Sauce. That fancy ketchup, which we all know is really nothing more than Heinz ketchup and mustard combined. But hey, it tastes great on bucket steak. The forecast, as you guessed it, is going to be kind of crappy, especially here in Texas, where weather's always crappy. I think, personally, everything here is crappy. But who am I but just Muggy McLeod, the traffic and weather man, who, by the way, was given great accolades last week by the guest caller. So, for all you Mountaineer fans heading into Texas this weekend, don't leave any valuables behind in your car, especially those horns down symbols. And, of course, your spouse. Don't leave her in the car either. Anyway, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the win over Texas. And this has been Muggy McLeod and your One Eye in the Sky NRN Chopper 1 Traffic and Weather Team Report. Good day, Coach.
All right, Muggy McLeod. We appreciate it, Muggy, flying around down there in Texas, talking about them horns down.
Here's a question. I mean, I didn't watch the show, but I know who he means by JR.
Dallas.
But I didn't watch it. I just know Patrick Duffy was on there.
Well, JR got shot for years.
I was more of a step-by-step man watching Patrick Duffy.
Well, when JR got shot, that was JR Ewing got shot, man. That was the big mystery. It went on for weeks, and people who shot JR, it became a big slogan back then. So, yeah, I do remember it. One other thing, Gorb, I always forget to mention this, so I depend on you. Make sure you go to YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button.
Yep.
You can like and subscribe New River Network, Coaches Courtside with Coach Crist, either one or both. We'd appreciate both. And we do send out some invites. I know people get aggravated after you get 10 invites, but hey, we're trying to get our audience
It's all
up.
right.
Trying to get our audience up. So,
and you can do that on the Greenbrier Valley channel.
that's right.
As well.
That's right.
You
Go to
know?
Greenbrier Valley channel. Like and subscribe. Yeah, absolutely. So we appreciate you doing that. That helps us out. And I'm sure we'll help our sponsors out eventually. And we appreciate that. We appreciate that. Also, Gorb, I don't know if you noticed or not, broke out my Boston Celtics gear.
See that.
In honor and to show some love for the new head man of the Boston Celtics. He's a family friend. He's real good friends with my son. I'm pretty good friends with him myself, and we are thrilled and tickled to death that he has the opportunity that he has in front of him, and I know he's excited too, and he'll do a great job. He's a solid guy, brilliant basketball mind, brilliant mind. Period. He's a super smart guy, very humble guy. And I know, like I texted him the other day, and I said, I know this is not the way you wanted this to happen, but it has happened. So you've got an opportunity of a lifetime. Make sure you seize it. Do the best you can do, and he will. He'll do a great job. I'm looking for. So I thought I'd wear that just to celebrate him tonight.
There you go.
Everybody says, "Why don't you have him on the show?" Well, I've had him on the Courtside. What was the other show? Coach's Corner. I had him on that on the radio several times. But at this stage of the game, I don't really like to take advantage of our friendship and do that to him, because I know he'd have to jump through a lot of hoops to do it. But he would do it. I know how he is. But anyway, congratulations to Joe Mazzulla, who we're talking about, on becoming the head coach of the Boston Celtics. And I'll be honest with you, if he does well during the season, I have a strong opinion that the other guy's not going to be back at all. And I think if Joe does a good job, I think he might land that job and be the man. So we're hoping for it, for that, for him and for his sake. Anyway, moving on with the show, we select our Athlete of the Week each and every week. It's one of our local high school youth that perform well in their games or activities over the week. And again, we need your nominees. You need to put them in. I always get a few from a gentleman over, a McMillian fellow over in Greenbrier County. Always sends me some good ones, and he's had a lot of them get picked. You know, so they can't get picked unless we get their names in here. And so make sure you just leave a message on Facebook or on Twitter or wherever. Get on our page, a New River Network page or Courtside page, and leave your name on there. Just tell us what they did, what they accomplished. We'll throw their name in the hat and see what happens. We'll have this week's Athlete of the Week after we take a break and come back. We want to mention that last week's Athlete of the Week was Tanner Vest from Shady Spring High School, Shady Spring golf team. He won the Coalfield Conference match with a 69. And Gorb, you came up with him. You follow these golfers pretty well, pretty close.
Well, that happened. The regionals happened this past week.
Right.
And Shady qualified.
They did.
He didn't have to qualify as a medalist.
Right.
I think Carrie Ann Cook qualified as a medalist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think she shot a 71.
Yeah, Carrie Ann's been one of our 71.
Yeah.
Man, these guys can golf, can't they? And gals.
Yeah.
So, all right, what we're going to do now is take a quick break. When we come back, I think we have an audience caller that's on hold right now. After we talk to the audience caller, we'll get house call with Dr. Crist going. Dr. Crist will talk a little bit more about some more realignment and expansion news that's in flying around on the air now.
Yeah, it kind of came out there yesterday.
Yeah, just keeps coming.
Yeah,
it don't stop.
Well, you got have a little new thing. I'm trying to think maybe provider or
Yeah.
somebody that wants to show the games.
Right.
That's what it is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Network. New network.
New network. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, we want to thank again Mickey Plumley, who was our guest a couple of weeks ago when we put the show on this past weekend. Mickey was a very fine guest.
He's good.
A lot of fun to talk to and listen to. Pulled a little prank there with the nice, what I like to call Charlie Fisher hair. And I think I even sung a little Betty Davis eyes. You got Betty Davis eyes. I got Charlie Fisher hair.
Do you have the hair on your mantle?
It will be when we go to our home studio over on the Mystery Hole on Gatewood Road, McGuffin's Mystery Hole. When we go over there, we'll put it up and pin it up behind us.
There you go.
And,
Okay.
Hopefully, if we leave it there, Darren's out there in the country a little bit. It's probably have mice and everything else every time we go back the next time. So
Call Whitman's.
there you go. We'll maybe
Look at
Whitman's
that plug right there.
Yeah, maybe
You know?
they'll sponsor. Yeah, come on, Whitman's, jump in there and sponsor. All right, let's get a quick break in. When we come back, and again, one more thing. Congratulations, big win for the Red Devils, 2 in a row. Let's keep it going, man. We got a big one down in Cabell Midland this week. It's going to be a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a program that's been winning for a while now. Coach Salmons, he's been there. It's hard to believe he's been over there 10 years now, and he's definitely got the ball rolling down there. And it's going to be a challenge, but we're. I think the boys are up for it, and see how we do tomorrow night. It's different. They run like it's crazy. They run like it's like wing T, triple option type hybrid. It's crazy. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's been hard to work with this week, but it's been fun though too.
Oh, yeah.
So
well, we'll be. I don't think we're going down to do the game. By the time we get down there, the game will be half over. But I think we are going to have some live broadcast of some score updates and maybe some interviews, and we'll be watching you guys and rooting you on. So we're going to do that tomorrow night. Again, we're going out on the McGuffin's Mystery Hole, and we're going to do it from there. So we hope you'll join us for that. We'll advertise that as well and get that out there for you, so you'll know what time to tune in for that. All right, let's get a quick break in. When we come back, we'll have our audience call, and then we'll talk to Dr. Crist down in Alabama. So stay with us. We'll be back here on Courtside with Coach Crist after these messages. Welcome back to Courtside with Coach Crist. I'm Greg Crist. That's Dave Gorby coming to you live tonight from Pinheads of the Gorge here on Jones Avenue in Oak Hill. And Gorb, didn't know if you knew it or not, but today is National Confucius Day.
no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, most people probably didn't. So with that in mind, we were able to track down Confucius's half-twin, once removed from the family album, and his name is Confused. And he is our caller tonight, and he's got some words of wisdom for all of us here on the show. So we thought we would talk to Confused and see what he's got to tell us.
Hello, Coach Crist. I come to you on this day to pass down word of wisdom to you and Mr. Young, David Gorby, and any of the washed-up guests you had in the past or may have in the future.
Slamming our guests.
I am confused
Before.
and confused to say, man with neck beard have no use for hand knitted scarf.
There you go.
Man with fight with wife all day get no peace at night. Man who scratch butt should not bite fingernail. Virginia Tech Hokie play WVU, they get plucked. Newscaster who report hurricane knows how to talk up a storm. Woman laid in tomb, likely to become mummy. Man can resist anything except temptations. You are unique, just like everyone else. Man who stash top secret document in basement have nowhere to stash makeup or love letter from cruel dictator friend. Woman who go camping with man must beware of evil intent. He who stick head in open window get pain in neck. A butler with no teeth is called an indentured servant. Many men spoke, but Fu Manchu. Man with one chopstick often go hungry. A bird in a hand make it hard to tie shoe. If something happened, no one put on Facebook, did it really happen? Football coach with bad team speaks highly of team execution. Woman who put detergent on top shelf, jump for joy. Cross-eyed teacher cannot control pupils, and when she cry, tears run down her back. Retired doctor in Alabama soon learned state bird is mosquito. No shame in big bump on forehead from bug bite. Retired coach with TV show try to be funny? Not funny. Good evening, Coach Chris, to you and Mr. Young Gorby. I hope you have a great show. Look forward to talking to you in very near future. Goodbye.
There you go. Confused. Giving some words of wisdom. That's some pretty good words of wisdom there, Gorb. Man with neck beard have no need for knitted scarf. That's words of wisdom right there, right?
Yeah.
And I especially liked one, man who fight with wife, get no peace at night. All right. So with all that being said, we appreciate Confused for calling in and giving us some words of wisdom. We'll try to use those words of wisdom as we go forward. And what we're going to do, usually I take a break and we come back. We during our break is when we make our phone calls. But I'm just going to go ahead and call up Dr. Crist right now instead of going to break because just save some time. Right. And we'll go ahead and get him on. And,
right.
And no shame in him answering the phone, saying hello. They know we call.
I mean, he should be watching right now.
Yeah, he usually does.
Hey.
Hello, Dr. Crist. How are you?
Okay.
All right. We just came directly on air. We didn't go to commercial or anything, so we are live right now. And we haven't talked to you in a while. We did get your recording last week. That was good. Good stuff. And this week, me and Gore were just talking about it before break, that we're dealing with some more realignment and reconfiguration news. And I think that's what you're going to talk about tonight.
Yep.
Have at it.
All right. Have at it. Okay. So for those who missed the news, there was a story out this week that the Big Ten is looking for another partner to show some of their games. And I think they're interested in primarily a streaming service. So somebody like Amazon or YouTube or whatever.
New River Network.
to pony up some more money. And so there was talk again that if that were to come about, that they may try to go after a few more of the Pac-10 or Pac-12 schools. So Washington, Oregon, Stanford, and Cal, I believe, were on the list. And the idea was that, give them more, inventory, basically,
right,
to be able to show those games. And it could justify the additional infusion of money that then would be split. If that were to happen, it now leaves only, I believe, 6 Pac-12 teams would be left.
Yep.
And that the Big 12 would probably go after Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado, some combination. And that would leave Washington State and Oregon State kind of out on their own. So that was the story, right? And so the question becomes is, why in the world would they do this? all the things that I have read have said that adding those teams to the Big Ten wouldn't add any additional revenue. And it wouldn't add enough revenue to justify bringing them on, even if they've got another network partner to bring them on or to, to show the games and offer up more money. So the question would be, why would you do that? And I got to thinking about kind of the mentality of what's going on with all this stuff. And it kind of reminded me of an auction. You ever been to an auction?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. And so, people are there at the auction and you're bidding for stuff that, you may or may not really need, but it seems kind of cool. And you kind of get caught up in the kind of the emotions. And next thing you know, you've bid way too much money for something that you probably really don't even want or need. Yep. And that's what it kind of feels like, doesn't it? I mean, it feels like these conferences are bidding on stuff that they really don't want or need because they feel like they've got to, keep up with the other conferences. Maybe they're trying to get ahead of them. Maybe they're concerned that they're going to make a play somewhere else. And so they want to do a preemptive strike. I mean, it's crazy what's going on right now.
Yeah, it's almost like they want these other, like the Pac-12, for example. It's just like they just want to decimate it. Like they got them down, they want to kick them now,
Yeah.
And just do away with them. Yeah, that's what it seems to me like. They just see the opportunity to eradicate one of the conferences and make them more, recognizable or whatever it is. And then they're just going after them. Yeah. The Big East went through that.
Yeah, and then you combine that with the recent announcement that they're going to expand the playoffs, and I'm sure that what these conferences, especially the SEC and the Big Ten, are thinking, if that playoff goes to 12 teams is what they're talking about.
Yep.
I bet you both of them are angling toward trying to figure out a way to get 6 or 7 of those spots in the playoffs.
Right.
Yep.
They are.
Yeah. Yep. Really, what it boils down to is the almighty Benjamin.
Yeah.
It's just all about money.
Yeah. Well, I think it's largely about money. I agree. I think it's largely about money. But I also think it's got something to do with kind of prestige and being on top of the pile and whatever it is, whether it's having the biggest footprint or having the strongest conference or having the most team. I mean, it's all kinds of stuff going on right now.
Yeah.
And it's almost like these guys are competing with each other to see who can pull off the next big dramatic move.
Yep.
That's going to shake up the college football world, and everybody else is kind of sitting around wondering, geez, who are we going to get picked off, or is our conference going to survive this, or whatever? And it's creating a lot. To me, it's creating a lot of unnecessary angst.
Right.
We've already seen the total disruption of the college football landscape because all these rivalry games have been taken away. It's almost like those things don't really mean anything anymore. And again, we've talked about before, as a fan, that really sucks.
You get a little taste of it this past weekend when we played Tech. That's been a long time rivalry, and how much fun was that? I mean, that atmosphere was great, and of course we kicked our hind ends, which was great. And I mean, how much better can it get? And you look at the Pitt game. Pitt and OVU,
even the Pitt,
one of the biggest, most watched games ever. And you're taking that stuff away. That's what's sad.
Yeah, that's right. All that's being taken away just for some sort of conference, positioning, conference strength, whatever the perception is. But you're right. It's largely driven by the dollar. But I also think that people are, they run the risk of really outsmarting themselves here.
Yeah, they're big
by getting in this daggone bidding war. And there's going to get to a point where somebody's going to step up and pay the piper, and there may not be enough money to pay them.
Right. Yeah. It's like you reach that point of negative returns, And, back when I was coaching coaches, we had a name for this. We called it something similar to a boot swinging contest. Whoever had the biggest pair of boots, and that's kind of what that's not exactly how it went, but that's close enough. And it's just like that's what they're trying to prove now. We can be bigger than you, but like you said, going to be a point of negative returns when the funds are drying up. I mean, there's only so many sources out there. But you mentioned that other partner. Amazon is jumping in here and taking the bull by the horns as far as broadcasting. They broadcast the professional game last week.
Or they're getting it tonight. They're
And they're
doing
getting the one
they
tonight.
got the Thursday night games.
Yep, yeah, got the Thursday night games already. So yeah, there's more and more markets, especially with the streaming services, because that's becoming the newest thing, and that's what's going to take over and eliminate cable and all that.
Yeah. How weird was it to listen to Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit on the same broadcast?
Yeah, it was hard to listen to Herbstreit doing a pro game. You know, it was just, it didn't seem right.
Yeah.
You know, he did all right, I guess. I ain't the biggest fan, but he did okay. But it was weird doing a pro game like that. Yeah, it sounded strange.
Yeah. So, he barely knows anything about the college game, but listening to the pro game was pretty awful.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It's just not like it, but like it's just that it's just so much money going around. I think Joe Buck and Troy Aikman is doing the Monday night games now.
Right.
They've been on Fox for how long?
Forever. Yeah. Yep. It's all about the money, and I'll tell you what, those dudes make some money too. My gosh, Gorby.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at what me and you're making, and you compare that to what they're making.
Yeah. Right.
That's a whole lot to a little bit of nothing.
Yeah.
and then not to mention they had Pat McAfee join the crew for before the game, and I read somewhere that Pat McAfee had just signed a $120 million contract with FanDuel.
Yeah, for his stream. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, why in the world would you risk your health to injury and punt in the NFL when you could make $120 million on a microphone?
Yeah, he's been the smart one in this whole thing. He's right figured out, man. He's a great podcast too, by the way. It's hilariously funny. But but again,
but that stuff also goes to show you just how much money is going around.
Yeah, and that's a new service too. I mean, it's streaming. You know, that's what's why we like it. And the Dan Lebitard show, same way. You know, they got off. Dan Lebitard was making $10 million a year with ESPN, and he jumped out of there, and they got a contract with DraftKings, I think, and it was like $57 million contract or something with DraftKings, you know. So and they're streaming now. They don't do ESPN anymore. They do the live stream. So that's where it's all headed. Right. That's why we have so many millions of viewers. You know.
That's right. That's right.
That's why
you're on the right track. You're an early entry here.
Oh
so
you think
we pay off big time?
Trying to get that clientele built up in Alabama. That's the problem.
That's right.
Now.
We got to get some love from down there, man. Get some, and people in Alabama need to know this too. They can advertise on here as well because it's worldwide. You know? So
they don't need to.
That's right. Bubba Gump wants to advertise his shrink boat. Yeah, he can. We'll be glad to put it on there for him.
Well, I also have one more question. When is the appropriate time, to talk to Joe Mazzulla about the fact that there are two brothers in the Crist family who are lifelong Boston Celtics fans?
Oh, he already knows. Trust me. In fact, I got me a nice Maine Red Claws T-shirt in my drawer that came from the G League. He gave me. So yeah, he knows. But I said, I don't like to. I don't want to use our friendship, to lure him onto the show. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I know he's got a ton of stuff going on right now. And he probably really don't have a whole lot of time to do stuff like this. But I have talked to him a couple times, and he does know. In fact, I sent him a picture at Christmas time. I got a Boston Celtics mask during the COVID thing, and I took me a side angle and sent it to him. I said, "Showing some love, baby, with my mask."
Make sure you let him know that your brother down there in Alabama has been a Boston Celtics fan since I was 3 years old.
Yeah, that's what it's kind of what I told him when I texted him. I said, who'd have thought 5 or 6 years ago you were sleeping on my couch and didn't have a pot to piss in. Now you're head coach of the Boston Celtics. Who'd ever thought that? Funny how times change. He'll do a good job. He's a good coach, man. He's smart. Smart guy.
Yeah, I think he'll do well. I'm pulling for him.
Yeah, I am too. All right, man. We appreciate it, and we're gonna get out there and get our next guest on. I think you'll find this guy interesting. He's got a heck of a background in coaching, and he's coached at numerous prestigious universities throughout the country, and he's going to be a real fun guest. So you might want to stay tuned in.
All right, I sure will. We'll keep an eye on this expansion and continuing saga college football because it just won't go away. The story just won't go away.
Just keeps coming. That's what I told Gorby. Just keeps coming every week. All right, Dr. Crist, we love you. We appreciate your input, and we will talk to you soon.
All right, take care, guys.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Dr. Crist, not coming to us from England or Spain or anywhere like that tonight. He is in Alabama.
That's crazy.
It's weird that he's home.
No 7-month vacation.
Over to Maui, yeah. A tough
Australia,
life.
and,
Tough life. All right, Gord, we are going to take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll have our special guest for tonight, man by the name of Richard Bell. And, I think before we go on break, I think I'm going to go ahead and read his bio so that I don't have to have him hanging on the phone while I'm reading it. He's a retired high school coach, Gord. After he got done coaching college, he went back into coaching and coached a high school team.
Okay.
And from what I understand, did a really good job. His last job was a defense coordinator at Prince Avenue Christian School in Bogart, Georgia. He lives down in Georgia now, close to Atlanta. He was the head coach for South Carolina for a year. That was in 1982. Funny thing, Bob Markham was the athletic director at the time, and I think he ended up at Marshall. He's down in Huntington now in a home down there, but I remember Bob Markham's name. I'd like to ask him about that. It was kind of a touchy situation, so I don't know if we'll get into that or not. He graduated from University of Arkansas in 1962. He played football there. He began his coaching career at VMI. He then went to Georgia Tech, West Virginia, Texas Tech, South Carolina as a defensive coordinator, then South Carolina as the head coach. He was introduced as 27th head coach in South Carolina program. He served 7 seasons for the Gamecocks at D coordinator under Jim Carlin, who was at West Virginia. Bell was let go by athletic director Bob Markham December 1st of 82. From South Carolina, he served as defensive coach at several other schools, Duke, East Carolina, Georgia, Navy, and numerous years, about 11 or 12 years at Air Force. He retired as a college coach after the 2006 season after 42 years of coaching.
Wow.
And that's amazing right there. After 4 years in retirement, he re-entered the coaching world and became defensive coordinator for the high school there in Georgia. He retired after the 2017 season. So we're looking forward to talking to Richard Bell here after these commercial messages. We'll get him on the line while we're in break, and we'll come back and have Richard Bell on with us. I'm Greg Crist. That's Dave Gorby. You're watching Courtside with Coach Crist here from Pinheads of the Gorge right here on Jones Avenue in Oak Hill. Stay with us. We'll be back after these messages. Welcome back to Courtside with Coach Crist. I'm Greg Crist. That is Dave Gorby. We're coming to you live tonight from Pinheads of the Gorge here on Jones Avenue in Oak Hill. And Gorb, we've been here for the last several weeks. We've gone over this decade back, late 60s, early 70s time period. We have had some fantastic guests on, some of the players from the Mountaineer teams back then. Tonight we got another good one. And I said, this has been one of the most enjoyable things I've done since we've been doing these shows, is getting to connect with these guys and hearing their stories and talking about their past and the things that they've done. Started reading this guy's bio. I read the bio before we, so you'll know, Mr. Bell, we read your bio before we got you on the phone. And it is extensive, and it is amazing. And I've looked at it several times today and just think, man, what a career this guy's had. And again, for those of you who listened before we made the call, you know that we are talking to former coach, Mr. Richard Bell. Mr. Bell, we appreciate you taking some time to talk to us tonight.
Well, I appreciate that, Greg. I'm always honored to be anything that has to do with West Virginia. Those were some memorable years for me and for our family and just all the guys that I coached with. And fortunately, we had some great players that enabled us to do and achieve quite a bit up there. And so I'm glad to have the opportunity to fill any blanks that I need to be.
Awesome. Well, I know I told my sidekick here tonight when you left me a message there, whatever day it was, we've been playing phone tag all week, but you left me a message and I said, of all the places he coached all these years, I said before he hung up the phone, he said, go Mountaineers. And I said, got me fired up, so I couldn't wait to talk to him. Let's start out talking about all this coaching. You coached in a lot of places, a lot of very prestigious places, and accomplished a great deal over your career. I was a coach myself. I coached high school sports for 27 years. What's the things that you most remember and feel you gained from coaching?
Well, I think the thing that hangs with you is the type of kids that you got, and you go into it, and it's really, you're trying to make them into men that you would like them to be, and then you're trying to make them into real good football players and bring a real unity that I think existed in each team that I had. We especially had it there at West Virginia. I mean, the guys there, there's no worry about my name going to be on the top list. The only thing they worried about is trying to make the guy next to them better.
Awesome.
And that's what made us helped to make us a really good football team. Well,
I was going to ask you. You're talking about these guys at WVU, and again, we've had a number of them on the show, and one of the words that I think, if you want to describe all of them that we've had, is character. They all seem to be people of high character, high quality people, and I was going to ask you about that time at WVU, if you could describe the type of the type of players and athletes that you had up there and men that you had up there.
Well, Coach Carlin did a tremendous job, and our staff did in the checks of choosing the type of kids. We weren't interested in 5-star athletes. That wasn't even something that we considered. What we wanted was we wanted guys with 5-star hearts,
right.
And those hearts were made up of, competitive spirit, just toughness, enthusiasm, excitement, and really they, as I said earlier, they just really wanted to help make the guy across from them or who they played with better.
Right.
And so that just rubbed on all of us. And so we won a lot of ball games, and we were not, we may not have been the best team, but we were the best group of players on the field every time we played.
So you were at WVU 68 through 69. And now let me ask you, was that 2 seasons or 1 season? 68 seasons?
That was 2 seasons.
Okay.
That was 2 seasons.
Okay.
68 and 69 seasons. Right.
Here's the thing, sometimes I'm sure you have to just look back and go, wow. But Gorb, while he was the defensive coordinator at WVU, guess who the offensive coordinator was?
It was Bobby
Bowden. How cool was that?
Bobby.
Yeah. So, so you were a part of that the 11-1 team then that won the Peach Bowl, correct?
Yeah, I
Awesome.
was.
Awesome.
Bobby was the offensive coordinator, and then I was the defensive coordinator, and then I could go on down if you want me to, and the guys that up there, but all of them, I think, as I sit here and just first of all, of course, I want to give a lot of credit for what Bobby did. He was just an amazing person, but even more so, he was an amazing coach. He, to say this, in 1969, as we went into the season, he just made up his mind, and Jim allowed him to do this, and so we just changed our offense, and instead of just being we were wide open offense, but we went to a split back veer type of situation, and that really caused. I mean, we had I tell you what, Greg, we had a amazing group of running backs.
Yes,
you had Braxton, and then when you mentioned that, and Bob Gresham, and I could keep on going down the list. But I mean, these guys were special, and so he went and he took and had good quarterbacks in the sense of Mike Sherwood and also Garland Hudson, but those guys were really right on top, but they were running quarterbacks as well as guys that could throw really well, and we had two types of receivers that we had as far as that was concerned. Is that we had Oscar Patrick was our big throw guy, but also with that we had with him, we've had some other guys that were really good, and so we were able to throw the ball, but we really could run the football very well, too.
All right. So now, if people just tuned in, I want to remind everybody that you were the defensive coordinator, so you've given us a breakdown of that offensive squad. Let's talk about your defensive players just a little bit. I want you to mention some of those guys that played for you on that defense, which was a pretty good defense as well. And one person in particular that we had on the show that I've become kind of endeared with, become kind of friends with him on, texting, talking back and forth, and he's been on the show. I became a little enamored with his hair, how beautiful it was, and what a good-looking fellow he was. And I've caught a lot of flack over that for some reason, but his name was Charlie Fisher. And I went back and watched some highlights of that season. Found it on YouTube, watched the season, and watched some of those defensive guys, and people like him in particular. Those guys were all over that field, man. They were everywhere, and he was one of the ones that caught my eye. But anyway, I don't want to talk about these players. I want you to talk about them. So tell me a little bit about some of these guys that played for you on that defensive side of the ball.
Well, we were really solid defensively as we were offensively. Up front, we're starting with the middle. Carl Cornell was our middle guard, and he was truly an All-American football player, and just really when we put him out there, we knew that they were going to have to double up on him or triple up on him to block him and everything. Right. And then I start down there, and I could say the same thing. Charlie Fisher was really, he was an undersized defensive lineman that he played like he was 300 pounds and everything, but he was quick and he had great movement, and he was afraid of nothing. Right. And so he was another one that really stipulated. And I could say about Donnie Smith, and then we also had an outstanding linebacker, and Dale Farley, he from Tennessee. He was a super player, and then he went on. I think I lost contact with him, but he went on into the NFL and was a super player up there, and so I can go ahead and name names all the way through, but those two guys. But we were very balanced up front. Bobby Starford and Art Holt with our outside linebackers, and then we had a really good secondary to go along with that, and that we had John Hale was a very good player, and Mike Slater and Terry Snavely and that bunch back here. I don't want to leave any of them out, right, Greg, but anyway, as I do. But but each of them contributed, and we really just played as a team. And we went out on the field. They didn't think anybody was going to beat them, and sure enough, they didn't allow anybody to beat us.
I was going to say not too many did, that's for sure. Now, when Coach Carlin left and headed to Texas Tech, you went with him. How tough was it? I mean, you all obviously speak fondly of West Virginia, but how tough was it to pack up and leave Morgantown?
Well, it was really hard. I'll tell you that, because we put our heart into that job up there, and West Virginia really rubbed off on us. And it reminded me a lot of my university I graduated from at the University of Arkansas. And, West Virginia was the one college in the state, and at that time, just like Arkansas, it was the number one college in the state of Arkansas, and so it was just what we wanted to bring them to a point. And Coach Carlin got it started. He wanted to make them, the kind of the team that was going to be recognized all over the state and all over the nation for what they produced, game in and game out, and he certainly did that. And
you spent some time at Navy, but you were also at Air Force for a long time. Just curious to know here, and Dave and I've talked about this. What was it like at Air Force? How was that different than different than, say, Georgia Tech or Georgia or East Carolina? What was the big difference there? Because you spent a lot of time at Air Force and coaching, one of the academies as opposed to, a WVU or a Georgia.
Yeah, Greg, it was different in the sense that these kids that we got going to the Air Force Academy, they got everybody at the academy gets a scholarship. I mean, all 4,000 students are on a scholarship. And so our players were no different than the students there. And so, they weren't what you'd always call. That's why I always say I don't go much into a 5-star or 4-star.
Right.
But the thing I knew about the coaches and the players that we had at the Air Force Academy, they were 5-star players in the sense of their intangibles that they brought to the field. Right. And it was similar. There was a lot of similarity, believe it or not, between the players that we had at Air Force and those we had at West Virginia, in the sense that the dedication and the commitment to one another, and they just, as the old saying goes, they raised the level and they refused to lose every time they went on that field.
Yep. No, I bet that was fun. You retired after the 2006 season, but after you were retired for a few years, you jumped back into it and you went as a defensive coordinator for a high school there in Georgia. First of all, being a high school coach myself for 30 years, I can't imagine going back now and coaching high school athletics again. But I just like to ask you, what the heck were you thinking? No, I know. Here's the thing: you're a football coach, and maybe a little different level, but it's still coaching football. But what made you decide to do that, to come back into coaching again?
Well, I tell you what, as I say and tell people all the time, I never worked a day in my life, because I loved it so much. And I really, when they approached me to come and be the defensive coordinator at Prince Avenue Christian School, I told them no way. I wasn't interested at all. I've been down that road, but I really liked the head coach, and he was a dedicated, committed guy. Uh-huh. And I said, I'm going to consider it, but don't be calling me within a week or 2 weeks and say, we got to have an answer, because I won't give you an answer. I'm not taking the job, And so I said, it may take me 1 month, may take me 2 months, but I'll make up on my own mind. And so one day I was out running, and it had been about 2 months, and I said, I need to do this. I said, I've never done it, and this is a challenge. And they weren't winning at that time. And I said, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
And I told my wife, I said, it's going to be a different run. I said, I don't know if we're going to win many games, but we'll just make it fun. But anyway, we were fortunate that we won lots of games too, and we had a good group of players.
Yeah, I was going to say I did see where you'd won a lot of games. The other thing, and I think I'm remembering this correctly, when you took this job, did you not also have to take a teaching job, and you were teaching middle school PE?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right, I'm going to ask you that question I asked you a minute ago. What in the heck were you thinking? I'll tell you what, when I first started teaching, I substituted middle school PE several times. Dear Lord, I didn't think I was ever going to survive those days. But anyway.
Well, I never will forget that first day I walked into the first day of school, and I had a lady who was she had been a veteran of being a PE teacher, and I told her when I walked in there that morning on the first day, I said, I don't know anything, so don't expect me to add much. So I'll stand around and support you and provide discipline for you, but you're going to have to do it. And she just said, Coach, don't worry. I got your back. So
good deal.
You do that.
Good deal.
So anyway.
You'd earned your stripes. So she do that. So.
Yeah, she covered for me.
So now you've been retired since 2017. What have you been up to since then?
Well, at that time, finally I told my wife I was going to retire at 80, and I took it 1 year longer to 81. So anyway, I've been retired. And then we've kind of completed our retirement. We've moved over into Atlanta, Georgia, to be close to our children. Awesome. And so, I get younger every day. I'm 85, and I'm going to be fighting it all the way to the end.
There you go. Good deal. That sounds good. Sure, you'll be successful as well. But anyway, he mentions being 85. I only long to live and be healthy like that for that long. Right. I have a neighbor who's 85, and he still goes to work. He's an attorney, and I think he just goes over and piddles around, but he always wants me to ride with him. So I ride to work with him every day, and I said, told my wife, I said, this is, I think, adding years to his life because he feels like he has a purpose, he's busy, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, but I feel like with me riding with him, he scares me so bad driving that it's taken years off of my life, so it's working the opposite for me. But anyway, you look at college teams and pro teams today. It's a little different game than what you experienced. What do you think about coaching into today's games? What do you think? And I know you probably look at it and think I don't want any part of it. But if you were forced into it and had to go in coaching in today's game, what kind of approach do you think you'd have to take that's different than what you did, from the early 60s till the 80s, 2000s?
Greg, I'm going to tell you the truth. I wouldn't change a thing. I go in there with the idea, you're out there to make men. And as I said, you want to build them up into guys with real character. Right. I'm really worried about our game. I won't get into all this money situation and all that, but I had a commitment to the players that I had. And, I see too much among coaches now at this time that it's always looking for the next job and always looking for the next situation. And I just feel like I ought to go in with the same commitment that I had, that I was going to just, love on those kids, discipline them hard, and just make them into the player, the man of God that they're supposed to be.
Right. I also read about your time at South Carolina, and again, probably not a lot of people know this, but when I read that, I thought, that's a man who stands on his word. You were at South Carolina. They basically called you in and wanted you to get rid of some coaches, and you said no. And so in the end, you had to move on. But I think I'm sure you probably slept a whole lot better at night than most of those folks did.
Well, I thank you for saying that. I did. My statement is on that situation is that it was on me. I did not do what I had to do, to get a job done well. So I wasn't going to put any blame on those players. And I'd asked the administration if I could have the same staff, because I thought we had a good staff under Coach Carlin. And they agreed to that. And I asked them, when I took the job, that I said, now don't come to me with the season's not real good. And I said, we may go up 10-0, or we may go 8-2, or we may go, but we also may go. And I just happened to, by chance, to hit on the thing. We may go 4-7, but just give me a chance to build the program into what I think I can do with it, and kind of keep it going where it can be a winning program and a program that's well respected.
Mm-hmm. Well, probably worked out. I think probably worked out better for you in the end, as things most usually do. It's because you went on to, again, some very prestigious places and had a really illustrious career. And I think it's commendable to spend that many years in this coaching profession, because it's not an easy profession. And like you said, you may not go to work, but it's still work. I mean, you still have to work hard, and especially at that college level. So for doing it for as long as you did, that is highly commendable, and we appreciate that so much. And your time at WVU, I think a lot of people, and what we're trying to do here with our recent shows, a lot of people probably, if you mentioned your name around here, probably wouldn't know who it was. But you were there at a great time, and I think a time period that most people I've talked to felt like that is what got West Virginia up a notch to that next level of football. And so you were there during a great period, and then to see what you accomplished, in the rest of your career, makes West Virginia people really proud. And I think it's something that we need to keep these legacies alive, and that's why we're doing this show with all these guys from back in the mid to late 60s, early 70s, is just to keep that alive and let people know what special people we've had at WVU. And of course, again, like I said, you're one of them. I want to ask you too about, you mentioned there earlier about the money situation, and these kids getting money and all that. I did want to ask you about that. This NIL thing, this name, image, and likeness, where kids are getting paid now. What's your thoughts on that? I know. Older generations typically say no way. I just want to get your feelings on the NIL.
Well, I'm as I say, I'm not really for it this time until they get it under control and get the right people in charge to take care of those guys making a decision about the money. I'm afraid that as the thing goes, it always kind of goes, and the players get out from beneath the staff, and they get agents, and and it's an illustration. It used to be, when guys walked in the dressing room, they looked at each other and, hey, we're on the same scale. We're players. But now, those offensive linemen, look at that quarterback. And he's making extra money. And, I don't know what's going through their mind, but I feel like it's what it has done. It's really worked hard to take away the team camaraderie. And to me, that's what everything is about. It's all about team. Together, we can accomplish more, and I really worry about that part of it.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about it on here, and kind of sentiment seems to be kind of the same with you. It's here, it's going to be here, but there's got to be some way to make it equitable, and there's got to be some way to make there be a commitment from both sides. If you're going to get the money, you're going to stay here and play for a few years, and we've even had younger players on, Owen Smith for one, who said simply, I know what it was like when I signed my NFL contract. He said, I was 23 years old and was handed $1 million, He said, what do you think I'm going to do? He said, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to take care of that money. And I said, that's the way these young people are. They're going to get all this money. Who knows what's going to happen? So I think they need to structure it in some way where, somebody is taking care of it. There's a commitment from the player as well as whoever's paying them the money, to keep that person there, committed to the team, playing on this team, and staying with it, because otherwise it's just going to get so convoluted and out of whack. It's going to be it's already a mess, and it's going to get worse. So, but anyway, I did want to get your thoughts on that, and I appreciate that. Then the last question, I guess we had another guest on tonight who talked about this conference realignment stuff. I know, the realignment thing was kind of alive back when you guys were in it at West Virginia. I know we got out of the Southern Conference. That was one of Coach Carlin's goals, and he got West Virginia out of that Southern Conference. What's your feelings on the realignment today, the way things are going?
Well, again, it looks like what we're going a lot more and more is just a power schedule. Now, at what time or where they're going to draw the line and say, hey, enough is enough,
Right.
I don't know. But, you're bringing powerhouses like you're bringing Texas and you're bringing Oklahoma over into the SEC.
Yep.
Along with that, and so what you do is the rich are going to get richer.
Oh yeah.
But those that have less are going to get less, and so it's going to be more difficult. I notice. I don't say it's more so, but I do look at it every Saturday, and I've noticed more games being played with the power conferences now are going through. They haven't got really basically into their schedule, but they're playing against these schools that they can dominate, and they give them a big paycheck and all. And anyway, I don't have any comment because I'm not with it now anymore. But I don't. I say it's not going to stop. So
right.
hey,
Yeah.
but I do know that the people that are coaching, I have a lot of respect for Kirby Smart, and I could go on down the list. And of course, of them, and they're going to do anything and everything they do to keep it right and keep it in such a way that the game of football will be what it's supposed to be, a team game, whereby kids are brought together and they learn what it means to sacrifice themselves for one another.
There you go. You a Georgia fan, a Bulldog fan, or you mentioned Kirby Smart?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I am. I'll always be. Haven't been there, I'll be a Georgia fan, and everything. So anyway, yeah, I was, and I of course, I know Kirby, and I know what his commitment is, and he's got he's on the right road as far as getting. He's going to get top athletes now, but he's going to do it the right way, and he's going to get those kids to play hard, and so that so the dogs can be up there for a while.
There you go. And they're talking about him like I said, they're the new Alabama now, and the way he's got them going, he's done a great job. That's for daggone sure. All right, listen, before we let you go, we're running close to being out of time here. I don't know if you've ever watched the show or not, or talked to any of your friends, but we have a segment on the show that we do at the end of all of our interviews. We call it Shoot the Three. And, of course, I was a basketball coach. That's where that comes from, and Gorby was one of my players, so we kind of get a basketball theme. What we do is we ask you 3 questions, and they're rapid-fire questions. You got 30 seconds to answer them. We send Gorby to wherever. He's a big guy, about 6'4", 280. He goes wherever he has to go to take care of people if they don't do the questions right and get them answered in time. In reality, that really don't happen. We don't have any rules. We just like to ask these questions. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions that have nothing to do with anything we've talked about. Probably nothing to do. Well, you may have talked about some of these things, but usually it's nothing to do with anything you've ever talked about. And we're going to try to get you to answer them as fast as you can if you're ready to play.
Okay, but it's going to be about all sports. Is that what you're saying to me?
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Hey, just go ahead and ask me. I'll do the best.
But it's not going to be anything that, without a little bit of thought, you can't come up with a good answer. The first one is about sports, and here it goes. If you're going to start a defensive unit right now, what current or recent NFL player would you start with?
I would start with the linebacker scheme, and as far as that goes, and then work back with the secondary guys that can cover one-on-one on wide-out receivers and that. And then you got to have a pass rush, so work hard to get a pass rush, about 4 or 5 guys that can put pressure on the quarterback.
I guess so. Then since you're starting with those linebackers, we probably want to start with Lawrence Taylor then, I'm guessing.
Well, yeah, Lawrence would be a good one.
Wouldn't be a bad one to start with. We had a good one on here a couple of weeks ago. It'd be a good one to start with too. We had Darryl Talley on the show a couple of weeks ago. He was quite the defensive player himself. So, all right, here's the next question. If you could make a phone call seeking advice from someone other than a family member from at least 50 years back, who would it be, and what kind of advice would you seek?
The person I would seek was my head coach at Georgia Tech, and that was Bobby Dodd. Wow. And for his counsel and guidance and directions, because he was really a guy that throughout my career, he guided and directed me, and every move I made, I consulted him first, and he really was very faithful in leading me in the right direction all the time. So that's my main man. My next one would be Frank Broyles, who's my coach in Arkansas. So anyway, I have an avenue, or I have a
Man, that's a name dropping there, man. Yeah. Bobby Dodd and Frank Broyles. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, good answers there. We're not going to send anybody to your house to bust your knees up because you're answering the questions just fine. All right, here's the next one. What is the worst thing that you've ever done that very few people know about?
Worst thing I've ever done that very few people know about.
And hey, you said you were 85. You got nothing to lose.
Oh, I have nothing to lose anything, you know. Well, you know, in my that 1 year I had as a head coach, I had some decisions that I made on a discipline issue, and I won't go because it would be very detailed for me to do it. But this was the one and only time that really I showed some leniency, and it was the wrong thing to do because the two guys that I had leniency on, I had to let go from the squad the next week and everything. So I wish I'd have gone ahead and made the decision.
Yeah, done it to begin with. You know, it's funny because when we ask that question to people, most usually the worst thing that they did was something good, but backfired on them. You know, and yeah. And I don't know a coach alive that wouldn't say the very same thing. I mean, I went through the same thing myself a few times. And, yeah, you look back on and say, I should have just done that to begin with and been done with it. All right, what's the best thing that you've done that very few people know about?
Well, I think really the best thing that I know is, you know, during that, I'll go back to that year that I had as a head coach, and we were really struggling. And so we really played bad against Florida State, and I brought them back on Sunday and put them in pads and scrimmaged them and just said that, hey, some way, somehow, we're going to win the next game, right, and we're going to win throughout the season. And we're playing a very good Navy team. They may not have been undefeated, but they were very close to it and everything. But we went out, we put the pads on every day, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And so anyway, we took it to another level, and we played with real pride and heart and just attacked the problems that we had. We won the game. Awesome. So anyway, I accomplished my goal.
There you go. All right, I'm going to ask you one more if you don't care.
Okay.
All right. What would you do if all of a sudden you became invisible?
I became invisible? I would really and truly, I would, if that was a possibility, I would just say this. I would have to go back and my Christian faith is very strong to me, and I would go back and then try to influence and touch lives of people I've known, and let them know about Jesus Christ as their Savior. So that would be
fantastic. Great answers, man. Tell you what, he handled these better than most people we've had on here. So that's a good job. Mr. Bell, we do appreciate you taking some time to join us. It has been fantastic. It's been extremely interesting. We'd love to get you back on sometime. And if you're ever up here in West Virginia, give us a yell.
Hey, Greg, I appreciate that and really enjoy it. Just let me ask you, where are you? Are you in the Charleston area, or where are you?
We're fairly close to Charleston. We're about 40 miles east of Charleston. We're in a place called Oak Hill.
Oak Hill?
Yep.
Okay. Around Beckley.
Close to Beckley, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So if you ever get this way, you got my phone number. Make sure you call, and we'll just get you on here live. You can take over on this show, man. You'd be a lot better at this than I am.
No way, brother. You do a great job.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Hey,
go ahead.
No, just tell all those guys you have on up there that just tell them hello for me.
I absolutely will.
Absolutely.
So anyway, hey, God bless, my friend.
Thank you. A lot of those guys watch the show, and especially when we have folks on like you, they like to watch. So I'm sure any of them watching tonight, they've heard you, but we'll pass that on. And again, we appreciate you so much for being on, and we hope that we can get you back on another time.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Greg.
All right, Coach. Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you.
Richard Bell. And again, Gorb, what a coaching career that guy's had. And I guarantee you, we could sit and listen to some stories all night long from that.
I mean, the name drops. I mean, we're not even talking about Carlin and Bobby Bowden.
Right.
I mean,
Frank Broyle.
I mean, he
Bobby
said Bobby Dodd.
Yeah,
I mean,
guess, somebody,
people today think Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
Georgia
right,
Tech. I mean,
right.
Bobby Dodd had Georgia Tech right.
Yes, he did.
Right.
And that's 42 years of coaching. He's run across some people, and and coaching at the places
he said he was like, I know Kirby, so yeah.
Kirby's a good friend. Yeah, you just look at his coaching background and think, man, you just gotta imagine he knows everybody. Man, what a guest what a guest book that could provide us with, huh?
I know.
I know we don't use our friendships to acquire guests. Frank and Mark and all those guys aren't listening.
Right.
Because even though I don't really know those guys real well, I've talked to them several times, and so I don't feel like I'm taking advantage of the friendship just yet. Now, at some point, I'll get there, but right now, I'm not. All right, that's going to do it for the show tonight. We appreciate everybody joining us. We look forward to coming to you again next week. We got another special guest already lined up. I will tell you about him later on in the week. We're not going to let the cat out of the bag just yet. And we want to remind you, too, that we'll be going over to the MacGuffin Mystery Hole tomorrow night and broadcasting there from the basement. We're going to be doing some game recaps, some scores, try to keep you updated as we go through the night. And hopefully I'll have some folks with me, and we'll have some phone calls in to help us get us updated on what's going on in the games. Gorb will be watching you guys down at Cabell Midland. Wish you the best of luck down there.
I appreciate it.
All right, man. Good luck. Go get them.
Yeah. See how tomorrow goes.
All right. So we look forward to talking to you again tomorrow night. You've been watching Courtside with Coach Crist, Greg Crist, Dave Gorby. We're at Pinheads on the Gorge here on Jones Avenue in Oak Hill. We thank you for watching from the bottom of our hearts. Hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube and Facebook, and we will look forward to talking to you tomorrow night. Good night, everybody.